Canada, 300 years ago, came pioneers from France. From Normandy and Picardy and Paris, from Poitou, Pédonie, and Brittany they came, bringing with them faith and simple courage to found a new world in the wilderness. Here on the shores of the St. Lawrence, they made a new France, the land of Quebec, and here succeeding generations have tilled the rocky soil of their ancestral farms. Self-reliant and industrious, neighborly and gay, for 300 years they have held to their way of life, guarding the glory of God and the dignity of man. The Angelus is ringing. All through the landscape of Quebec, out across the St. Lawrence River, and up over the long fields of Charlevoix County. Through the village of Les Éboulements, it is ringing the hour of evening. Home from cutting the first hay of the season turns Alexis Tremblay, thrifty farmer of Les Éboulements. And Marie Tremblay, his wife, comes in from the vegetable garden to make supper for a hungry family. To the land-wise habitants of Quebec, large families are a blessing. A man's sons are his investment in the future. They are not just so many mouths to feed, these children, but a lively testament of security, the expression of a man's faith in the abundance of the earth.
Vite, Michel, dépêche-toi, mon petit. Il ne restera plus rien pour toi. Vite, vite, Michel.
"40 good acres of land inherited by Alexis from his father supply the Tremblay family with nearly all they need. Alexis was not the oldest son, but in Quebec, where tradition springs from common sense, a father chooses among his sons the one with ability and love of the land. For old Joseph Tremblay, Alexis was such a son. Michel is the youngest of Alexis' family. Marcel is the eldest. Jean and little Marie are cousins from the city. Each summer, Alexis' city-dwelling brother sends his children to the farm. Alexis and Marie are helped with their large household by Aunt Therese, who lives with them all year round. Alexis finishes before the others and goes out to his evening chores, while the women linger at the table to gossip for a while before washing up begins. The shadows of Alexis' whitewashed barn deepen over the yard, and evening moves across the quiet fields. Here, 4 centuries ago, on the shores of the St. Lawrence River, 500 miles inland from the sea, Jacques Cartier planted the fleur-de-lis of France. Out of the earth, a heritage, the way of the father and the grandfather and the way of the son. A way that returns life for the long enduring struggle, a covenant with the land. "5 o'clock in the morning. From the steeple, the village guardian tolls out the hour. "5 o'clock and morning chores to do. Alexis is a member of a local cooperative creamery, and like the other progressive farmers of Quebec, combines the knowledge of modern farm methods with the practical heritage of his pioneer forefathers, a heritage of strength in the habit of work. Today, Marie is happy as she begins to knead dough for a week's supply of bread. And as she works, she tells a wide-eyed Michel about the miracle of wheat, how Father Alexis plants his seed in the field, and how God sends the rain and the sun to bless it, and it turns to bread for the Tremblay family. This morning, the north shore of the St. Lawrence River is humming with the work of harvest, humming with the work of farmers like Alexis and his son, who plow and reap with sound knowledge of seed and fertilizer, as well as rake and sickle. Back and forth under the hot August sun goes the reaper driven by Cousin Joseph, who has left his shop in the village to come over and help Alexis. In Quebec, a man's relatives help in the fields until his own sons are old enough to take over. For 100 miles around, families are working against the coming cold. Like Alexis, the Gagnons, the Bouchards, and the Seymours are counting hours of sunlight in gold-brown stooks of grain. By afternoon, a good fire is heating the bake oven. Marie stops gardening and Alexis stays in from the fields to help. The fire is allowed to burn until the oven is hot enough. Then it dies down and the ashes are scraped out. The first Tremblays who settled here in the 17th century had no bake oven. In those days of feudal tenure, the seigneur had the only oven in the community, and the pioneer Habitant, Louis Tremblay, had to carry his pans of bread across the fields to the manor house. But with the self-reliance that flourished on Canadian soil, feudalism became nothing more than a practical way of dividing and settling land. The sons of the patriarch Louis found it a long way to go to the seigneury, and they built ovens of stone and clay by their own kitchen doors. And so today, in the balanced routine of daily life, the self-reliant Tremblays find contentment, who plant their seed in the ground and watch the long year turn it into bread. Towards the end of September, Uncle George arrives from the city to take the visiting cousins home.
Allô les petits, comment ça va? Ah, bonjour Louise.
Bonjour, Georges.
Allô Thérèse.
Bonjour, mon frère. Tu dois être fatigué. Viens te reposer un peu avant de souper.
Summer is over. September, and Alexis harvests his potato crop with Bobo, the patient Tremblay ox. A good potato crop this fall, more than enough to supply the family for a year. Early October, and through the cold sky, the honking wild geese have gone over, heading south. Late October, and across the frosty furrows that look like white waves on a frozen sea, Marie's lively sheep are wandering. Wooden yokes around their necks keep them from jumping fences and getting lost in the mountains. In the chill air, Alexis can see his own breath as he strides across the valley. A feeling of winter is blowing down from the north. November, the brown used fields lie bare and silent between the river and the hills. Quebec is waiting for the snow. Overnight it comes, cold and sparkling across the fields. December, and the world is white. The snow is here to stay for 5 long months of winter. Out to the hills go 4 young Tremblays in the sleighs their father has made for them. Right from the farmhouse door over the snowbound garden and the sloping fields, you can see the whole world as you slide. Way down the icebound river, there's the Gouffre and Bay St. Paul. And over there beyond Ile aux Coudes, you can almost see the South Shore and the land that stretches down to the United States, where Marie Tremblay's sister has gone to live. In the warm kitchen, Marie has mounted her warp rack. Round and round the white warp turns. Grandmère has come across the fields to help, and she watches as Marie winds up the long wool threads. Wool from last spring's shearing, warped for this year's weaving. Grandmère braids the threads with an axe she learned from her own mother, and the warp is ready for the loom. January, and along the narrow roads, men are busy scraping the fresh snowfall away. Neighbors in Charlevoix County keep welcoming roadways open to their doors when the New Year's festivities begin. Tonight, the cold hills will echo with laughter and jingling bells, for the Tremblays are having a party. Up and down the valley, the word of invitation has gone out. By 8 o'clock, the guests are arriving. There's Paul Garon, who drove his carryall over the mountain from Sainte Catherine, and Jean Bergeron, back from a day in his woodlot. Out of the biting cold into the warm kitchen they come, to where Alexis and Marie are waiting to greet them. And here comes Uncle Joseph with Aunt Angelique and the cousins. And then through the door, Polycarp Oudet. The whole village knows he's looking for a wife.
Ah, bonsoir, la compagnie.
Entre donc, venez vous réchauffer.
Aunt Therese, who plays the organ in church, is playing the piano to a different tune. Marie is dancing as though she were 18 again. While the dancing goes on, the older folk are playing cards. Quatre step, they call the game. It takes a quick hand, but leaves plenty of time for gossiping. Late into the night they dance, and the friendly music echoes from the farmhouse on the hill. Morning brings the daily round again. With Grandmère and Aunt Therese helping, Marie transfers her warp rack to the loom. Widow Pichon was first to set up her loom this year. She has a great pile of blankets woven already, they say, and intends to send them down to Murray Bay for the tourists to buy. When the snow packs a firm surface on the roads, Alexis and Marcel haul down logs from the mountains. 200 winters keeping wood fires burning have cleared the parish of most of its timber. And the villagers, like Alexis, own woodlots in the mountains behind. It takes 15 cords of wood to keep the farmhouse warm in winter. 15 cords. A whole house full of wood to be hauled 3 miles down from the mountains over narrow roads. Through the winter, Marie is busy at her loom. A growing family needs plenty of cloth to clothe and cover it. Passing the shuttle back and forth, she gossips with Aunt Therese. Cousin Angelique has just had her fourth, and a boy at last. Right in the middle of that awful blizzard, too. They say the doctor nearly lost his way getting there. It took so long there was nothing left to do but say, "How do you do?" when he arrived. 5 feet of bright new cloth a day, maybe 6. The work goes fast when there's plenty to talk about. And so the days go by. On the north shore of the St. Lawrence River, a family is happy by its own hearth fire. All along the valley, they are digging themselves out this morning. Buried trainloads, buried sleighs, and fence posts almost disappeared under a blanket of white. This morning, the Tremblays awoke to find 3 feet of new fallen snow covering their world, and Alexis has a good day's work ahead of him. Winter is long, but spinning wheel and loom are never idle. In the kitchen, industrious hands are turning the hours to good account. Marie is finishing a Catalan rug made from strips of rags saved from the family's old clothes. Winter is long, but there's work for men to do. Out in the yard, they're cutting and cording and splitting. 15 cords to be split by spring. A whole house full of wood to be corded and left to dry out during the summer. Last year's dried wood to be cut in lengths for Marie's stove. Her crew uses his sleigh for the daily journeys from woodpile to kitchen. There are tales in Quebec of men going out of their kitchen doors when a blizzard was blowing and being lost and frozen to death in the snow before ever they reached their barns. Winter is long, but on clear evenings when the wind dies down and the sun is cradled in the valley snow, a man remembers spring. The days of Lent, a bleak white world, a shrouded world of fasting and penitence. Easter Sunday, and the sun is shining. It is shining for Marie from a blue sky. It is shining on the softening branches and sparkling on the river beyond. It is melting the brown snow around the barn and making the leather harness smell. It is giving Albert rosy cheeks. Easter, and the tide of winter weeks has turned. Winter is rolling away over the sunlit valley. The Tremblays are dressed for Mass. Marie in her best black coat, Michel wrapped up in his brand new hood, and Aunt Therese, who will play the organ, in the new hat she ordered by mail from Quebec City. Along every road, horses are trotting and bells are jingling. From every farm along the valley, sleighs are heading up the hill to Mass. Come ye faithful, the winter is over. For Christ is risen indeed. He is risen above the white land of Quebec. He has renewed his miracle along the valleys of the St. Lawrence. Today his spirit blesses the long fields of Charlevoix and the mountains beyond. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, The Mass is over. Streaming out of church, the villagers meet and exchange greetings. There's much news to tell among friends kept apart during the week by bad weather and heavy roads. Even in winter, a good farmer thinks and talks of his fields that lie beneath the snow. A new way of fertilizing being developed at the experimental farm in Bay St. Paul. A new treatment for lameness in cattle, suggested by the visiting agronome. Alexis joins Père Houdet to offer congratulations. For his son Polycarp has at last found a wife and is going to marry young Marie Seymour. Pierre recalls how Polycarp kept the village guessing last January, while Uncle Joseph swears they will be the happiest couple in Les Éboulements. Marie breaks away from the group to gather her brood of children together. There's a fine Easter dinner waiting to be cooked at home. Home over the icy roads, bells jingling, cheeks rosy in the frosty air. Home through the long white fields of Charlevoix. Home up the steep hills, the little sleighs wind back into the silent landscape of Quebec. March, April, and one day over the stand of pine trees on the cliff, the first crows come winging. On over the village they flap their message for Hercule and Albert. Marie sees them too and tells Alexis. Out over the fields and down along the river, the snow is melting. The wind is warm and smells of spring as it billows out the white banners of Marie's good housekeeping. Down from the mountain comes a sound of rushing water as the stream breaks through its frozen channel. Up through the brown wet grass comes a good smell of earth. Maple buds are sticky this morning. The smell of mountain pine trees is blowing over the valley. Pussy willows are out down by the creek, with their stems still buried in snow. It's the kind of morning you start out to go fishing. But the nearer you get to the creek, the easier it is to see that it's the kind of morning to make willow whistles. Hercule is an old hand at it. He's been waiting for months to do just this with the knife he got for Christmas. It would be nice to be 8 instead of 6 and be allowed to have a knife. It would be nice to know how to make a willow whistle. The next best thing is to have one made for you. This morning, Marie has special work to do, and Grand-Père has come across the muddy fields to help her. In Quebec, a man doesn't get to be 70 without being able to teach his children a few things. April is soap-making time, and Grand-Père is an expert. With a thing like soap, you have to have experience. It's never exactly the same twice. But with Grand-Père standing by, you can be pretty sure of how it's going to turn out. Into the boiling water goes the concentrate of bones and grease that Marie has boiled down during the winter. Not a bone or drop of fat wasted from all the good meals the Tremblays have eaten. In goes the rosin, bought from Cousin Joseph at the village store. After that, the salt, while Grand-Père watches carefully to make sure it's just the right amount. Not too fast, not too slow. The thing to know about soap making is how long to let it boil. Like maple sugar, it's the boiling that counts. By lifting his stick out and watching the drops form, Grand-Père can judge how much longer it will take. It takes an expert like Grand-Père to tell what is happening to the mixture once it starts to seethe and bubble. As Marie watches, she is happy. Testing the mixture for Grand-Père in a bowl of cold water, her hand can feel the clean substance of the soap, something new and useful that has been made. The cauldron can now be left to cool. Grand-Père grunts his satisfaction. An old expert hasn't lost his hand at it. Not a better soap maker in all Charlevoix County, that's certain. By afternoon, the soap is hard enough to cut. Hercule and Albert, with whistles in their pockets, help Alexis set out the board for the new cakes, and Marie is ready with the knife. Soap for laundry and housework, enough for months to come. Soap for Marie's big spring cleaning that will make the house shine and glisten like new. Strong, pungent-smelling cakes to wash away the dinginess of winter from the farm. For days, Alexis has been busy with the dinginess of winter, too, transforming the house into a habitation fit for spring. Now, as Marie smiles her approval, the painter has his reward. It is hard to stay indoors when the finishing touches are being put on such a house. Marie's spring cleaning is going slowly today, and her mop needs shaking out every few minutes. April, May, and the bare fields soft and warm with the sweet smell of earth. Up from the river where centuries ago pioneer Louis Tremblay cleared his land, young Albert is learning to hold the reins and guide the horses down his father's field. Spring spreads green profusion across the valleys of the St. Lawrence. surges the sap of maple trees, and sends the young sheep gambolling in the meadows. May, and before the men go out to sow, Marie and Michel come into the garden together with a solemn task. Michel holds in his hand a tin cup that contains one of each kind of seed that Alexis will plant in his field. Seed that have been blessed in the Mass of St. Mark's Day. Seed by seed, he drops the sacred handful to the ground. Now to Alexis' good husbandry and knowledge of modern methods is added the age-old blessing, and Marie and Michel know that the crop will come up green and good out of the earth. O thou who hearest prayer, unto thee shall all flesh come, who provideth them with corn when the earth is prepared, who watereth her furrows abundantly, who maketh it soft with showers and blesseth the springing thereof, who crowneth the year with goodness. The pastures will be clothed with flocks, the valleys also will be covered over with corn. For man goeth forth unto his work and to his labor until evening, that he may bring forth food out of the earth. June, and a village with banners asking God's blessing for the fruit of their land. He has renewed his miracle along the valley of the St. Lawrence. He stretches out his hand over the furrowed earth to bless the long fields of Charlevoix and the mountains beyond. Habitant in nobis, et vidimus gloriam eius gloriam, quasi unigenitia Patre, plenum gratiti et veritatis. Deo Patri omnipotensi, in unitatis Spiritus Sancti, omnis honor et gloria, per omnia saecula saeculorum. Amen. without end along the St. Lawrence River, from the blue water to the wooded hills. Across the fields, green Providence points up its banners to the sun. A world for Alexis Tremblay and his children. A world without end, where men will go out to harvest, sure of their heritage, by the work of their hands and the sweat of their brows, to receive the abundance of the earth.